Hey there, YouTubers! This is Kevin from Survivor Super Fun Time Show. And we're getting to the very end here. This is where it all comes down to the brass tacks. And we got the castaways are fighting for that $1,000,000. This episode here went from the final 6 down to the final 5. And it was some awesome gameplay once again. Some of the stuff I think is misunderstood by some of the fans out there, exactly what happened and why it was actually kind of brilliant. But before we get into the episode, make sure to hit the subscribe button to the Survivor Super Fun Time Show so we can continue to talk about Survivor with the rest of you through the rest of the offseason up until Survivor 50, because that's coming soon and that's going to be awesome. So getting into the episode, it's a big one. It's the one before the finale. They come back from the previous tribal council where they get rid of Sophie Segretti, and a lot of people are pretty stoked about that. That was a unanimous vote. That's not going to happen again. Hadn't happened before, because there's a lot of people that had beef with Sophie Segretti. Another number down for Steven, so I'm sure he doesn't really care at that point. And Savannah, of course, Savannah, Rizzo, and Blue Sophie, they get to move on forward. And Blue Sophie's the most excited because now she just gets to be Sophie. And I never really bought into this Sophie, Soph nonsense. It was so obvious you should just use their last names. Or even going by the coloring was fine. But Probst is like, no, Soph and Sophie. I want it my way. Brr, 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 brr. I really am just such a Probst hater these days. There's like nothing he does that I actually support. And I hate it. I hate it. Why do you make me do this? The next day, Blue Sophie can see the end. She can see the $1,000,000. And she realizes that getting to the end with Savannah and Rizzo is not the way to do it. That's not how you're going to win the money. So she starts planting seeds with Christina saying, hey, I really need to make a move against one of these two. And I would imagine she would probably pick Savannah, which makes it really difficult considering she keeps winning immunity challenges. I'm sitting at home and I'm saying, good job, Blue Sophie, because you need to make sure that you're going to get into an advantageous final 3. One of them definitely involves Christina, who's probably the worst player of the group. So I thought this was great, laying the foundation for this. But it appears it all fell apart at the reward challenge. They competed and the winner was going to the sanctuary where mediocre stuff happens. This time, Mexican things happen. And Savannah wins. Savannah beats Steven just by a little bit. And it's the classic scenario where they get to have food and stay overnight. And they get to choose a few people. Savannah does the baller move, chooses Rizzo, of course, and Blue Sophie. So she chooses her allies. Not everyone would have done that. Kind of like Sophie had mentioned, a lot of times that maybe like an ally would have been chosen. And then the other ally gets left back at camp to stop any real strategizing. But this time around, Savannah said, you know what? We're going for it. We're just going to add my friends with me for this really fun reward, get letters from home, and eat some Mexican food. Which good selection, it seems like, because those two people, as long as she can get to the end and they're on the jury, those two people will be really grateful for it and know that she was riding with them. And of course, why fuel anyone like Sage or Steven who can compete against you in an immunity challenge for the next one, which it seems like maybe Savannah's strategy was right, because eventually the immunity challenge winner is going to be Savannah. It's Mexican themed. They got sombreros all over the place and Mexican food, which I thought was a little weird. It feels a little, reward challenge from 2002 kind of thing. But, whatever. It was nice to see that they know how to theme shit still, though. So that's cool. But it was really fun seeing them chow down, eat together, be grateful for this scenario, having all this food. Rizzo made me laugh. At one point, he said, Operation Mexico, playoff Operation Italy from Survivor 47. At the end, they called themselves the Tres Leches Alliance, and they got to see their letters from home, and Savannah was very loudly like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to care about the letter. I'm in it for the burrito, okay? Tacos are what rules my emotions, not the letters. And I respect that. I love that. But, she's human just like anyone else. And once she gets the letter, she breaks down more or less, from boyfriend, from family, all that stuff. And Rizzo's was heartbreaking. I always make fun of Rizzo a little bit when his voice gets really high when he cries, but that's because that's a quirk of how he cries. But it's very sweet. The guy's full of hearts. He's playing for his family, his brother with autism. And I thought that was really sweet. It was really nice to see that, because there's so many people who online hate Rizzo. He kind of earned it a little bit, because he goes up there and fake plays idols for no reason other than to get some kind of a clout. And I can understand why it would also bring hate at the same time, because it appears that sometimes even the jury is not a big fan of that. So I think, even though there is that negative part to what he does, the moments like this where he's very, very sweet reading letters from home, that's where I'm like, man, Rizzo's got heart for days, and I love it. And one of the more interesting ones from this was Blue Sophie, because, she's reading her letters from home, and, she thinks about her grandmother, and she used to watch with her grandmother as a kid, just like I used to watch with my mother as a kid. And in that, she said she got inspiration of what to do moving forward in the game to keep your eye on the prize and win the $1 million. It was interesting because she read that letter, but at the same time, at that lunch, she revealed her knowledge is power advantage to Rizzo and Savannah. As a viewer, I was like, no! Because that means right then and there, chances of her stealing Rizzo's idol were basically slim to none. I've been waiting for her to steal it for weeks. You know, by the end of the episode, I'm sure she felt the same way that she probably should have. But I was sad for her chances to win the game, but that immediately increased Savannah and Rizzo's. And it made me happy that these three looks like they were going to try to work together, despite the seeds that were being planted by Blue Sophie earlier in the episode with Christina. Because I really just want to see Knowledge is Power work in US Survivor. I thought it'd be great. But once she said that, I was like, oh no. And she can't steal Steven's advantage with the way the mechanics of it work. So unfortunately, we're not going to get a successful play here. But three of my favorite players of the season all got to gather together for a nice reward. The pivotal Final 6 reward seems to be an important one. I was excited to see that happen. Rarely do I care about reward challenges all that much, but I actually like this one. And then wearing the sombreros while they're doing serious strategy talk, it was just sending me the whole time. I was just like, what? It's like little kids at a birthday party. They just have sombreros on while they do it. I mean, I would have done the same, but it's just funny to watch, you know? Meanwhile, while Sophie's revealing her advantage to her people, Steven's revealing his advantage to Sage and Christina. I mean, Steven had to do that. At some point or another, he had to clue everyone in on what the advantage was if he had any hope of it actually working. I did enjoy the little midnight shot with a bunch of rats crawling over people. I wish they showed that stuff more. I like it. I like to know that rats still exist on the island and they're still annoying. And then, of course, the next day when they all come back, you're like, hey, yeah, it was so good. We had a comfy bed. We had great food. And then Steven and Sage are like, we had rats. So just Survivor stuff, you know, just fun, good old-fashioned Survivor stuff. And fast forward to the immunity challenge. This is the one that happened in Survivor 45, where just like everything else, it's an endurance challenge. There's a ball at the end of a teeter-totter, and you have to put your foot on the one end and hold it up as long as you can and keep your balance. No shock, Savannah won this challenge. That's kind of what she's really, really good at. So Savannah wins this one, but Sage was begging so hard when it came down to just those two to throw the immunity to Sage, which I don't know who she's dealing with because Savannah is no punk, man. She's a killer. Savannah was never going to throw an immunity challenge for Sage. Like, Sage is like, oh, I know, if you just trust me, I can get us through this vote. Savannah's thinking, yeah, well, the thing is, if I just win, I'm going to get through the vote. So what's the point? She has all the advantages on her side, so Sage really has nothing to bargain with other than her tears. Good on Savannah to keep it going. But conversely, good on Sage, because you are playing your ass off, my friend. I love it. I love Savannah, so I want Savannah to always get the upper hand on Sage. But we can't argue as fans that Sage hasn't been playing her ass off in a way that most fans say they want players to play like. But Savannah wins immunity once again. That's the third immunity. And she has a few more opportunities to not only get a fourth one, which would tie her for the women's record all time, but if she gets a fifth, that ties her for the most ever. Genderless, she's up there. And she's got a damn good chance of doing it because the rest of the people left, they're not very good at challenges. Rizzo's terrible at challenges. Christina's terrible at challenges. Steven's pretty good, but I don't think that's going to matter after this episode. And Sage and Savannah actually broke the record for this challenge. They stopped at around 35 minutes. And it does lose a little bit of its shine when Australian Survivor Brains Rush Brawn 2, which just happened not long ago, they did the exact same challenge, and I think they lasted like twice as long. So the shine in the US one kind of comes off a little bit, but I still think it's impressive regardless. I thought this picture was really telling. Right after the challenge was over, Sage is, sad, she's crying, everyone is huddled around her and hugging her, and Savannah's a little bit off to the side. I don't know exactly what that means, other than the fact that I think a lot of people want to take Savannah down this episode. It was just, it was an interesting sight to see once again. The three with Rizzo, Savannah, and Sophie, they feel pretty good. They have the idol, Savannah has immunity, and Sophie has the knowledge is power to steal whatever Steven has. So they're sitting pretty. Sage was the interesting one during this time period because now they know they have to pivot from Savannah, who they really want out. Now it could be Rizzo. We could risk it with his idol, although Rizzo's been lying all episode saying my idol's only good till 6. Or they could take a shot at Blue Sophie. But Sage the Innovator says, maybe we should take out Steven. She tells that to Christina, and then eventually Christina tells that to Steven. But Christina is playing such a sloppy / bad game that Steven's like, wait, I'm not sure if you're saying you're on board with that plan or you're not. I don't get it. Wait, what? Hold on. Just clarify that for me real quick because my brain can't comprehend you possibly telling me you're going to actually vote me out. And Christina's like, no. Unfortunately, if he received it that way, that means she failed. And it seems like all season, Christina has failed. And I hate saying that. I don't like dumping on players, but it seems like at the end, around this time, there's always someone you would love to drag to the finals. And I think it's fair to say if Christina didn't find an idol by chance before, she would have had almost no impact on the game. And I think she's the one you want to drag to the end because mishaps like this are exactly the reason why you want to keep her around. I mean, Steven even made some kind of an analogy where it was like, she's eating spaghetti and we're using our forks and then she's just slopping it on her face. And honestly, that is kind of how Christina's been playing the game. So, I mean, I know she's probably going to argue the edit is not fair to her and maybe it wasn't, but it doesn't seem like the impact was known. Because usually if someone made a big impact on the game, the editors at least include you a good bit, and I don't think Christine's had that. In fact, I think they've actually dunked on her quite a bit. Like, they just show her falling off of stuff and failing all the time, and that's probably not representative, but I mean, she did it. Anyway, zooming toward the Tribal Council, I mean, right now, Blue Sophie has a challenge in her head. Do I read my letters about my grandma and the inspiration to win the game and steal Rizzo's idol, or do I do the safer thing, which is knowledge is power, and take it from my enemy instead? And I love the contemplation there. But again, as a fan, I was like, well, if she told Rizzo and Savannah, she's probably locked in. She's not going to take Rizzo's idol at this point, right? But with the way the mechanics of the advantage works for Steven, before Tribal Council is where he declares if he wants to block someone's vote. So before Tribal Council even begins, the advantage has been activated. It is no longer able to steal. And they go to Tribal Council and, you know, they talk and it's all boring stuff. But Sophie, right before the vote, says, I have an advantage. And in this advantage, it allows me to take an idol or an advantage. And I'm going to take Steven's advantage. And he says, I don't have one. Did you give it to someone else? And he says, I didn't do that either. I can't even dog Sophie for blowing that. I know she's embarrassed that she did not play Knowledge is Power right. I mean, she did almost everything right with Knowledge is Power as you possibly could, other than telling Rizzo and Savannah, but that's okay. I mean, she trusted them and she thought it would get them a little bit further in one way or another. But I can't really dog her for it because this is like the one advantage that you couldn't use at Tribal Council and steal. Like every other advantage or idol, you would be able to steal that at Tribal Council. This is like the only one that would be activated before Tribal Council. And how could Blue Sophie ever know that? Like, we found out after the episode that actually Christina told them about the advantage, but she didn't know the mechanics of the advantage. So even if they knew it was a block of vote, she didn't know the part where he had to say it before Tribal Council. And how would anyone know that? So I know people are ready to dunk on Sophie, including herself, but I'm telling you, listen, it was just incredibly unfortunate what happened. Like 99% of the time, knowledge is power would have worked in that scenario, but it just didn't this time. A very unusual mechanic held you back. Now, a lot of fans would have argued the safe thing to do was to steal the idol from Rizzo, which is true, but there are drawbacks to that as well. You're declaring war on your allies in that moment, whether it's innocent or not. Rizzo's not going to be happy about it. Savannah's going to question you in that moment, and you make yourself a bigger target. I think Final 6 was actually the right time to use knowledge as power. It's all about the paths you walk, though, because you don't want to steal the idol from one of your top allies, because that also could be an issue with the jury as well. I mean, Rizzo's a game player, no doubt, but I don't think he would have liked being deceived all season, and that could have maybe annoyed him if you got to the finals and you had taken his idol and gotten him out of the game. I think if you had been able to successfully steal Steven's advantage and gotten to the finals, that would have been a big feather in your cap. Is it as big as stealing Rizzo's idol? I don't know, but ideally Rizzo doesn't make it to the finals, and neither does Savannah if you're Blue Sophie. So sometimes the cookie just doesn't crumble in the way you want it to. Now, if the vote's cast and Savannah's vote blocked, Rizzo pulls out his idol, because obviously he has to play it at 6. He goes up to Jeff and he says, Blue Sophie or me, and I'm going to keep it for myself, and I'm going to go sit back down and keep this idol. Once again, he puts on another show for the jury saying, hey, I got this idol, and you can't get it, Jeff. I think the jury's getting really annoyed about this, and Steven in his post-game press conference, because he was voted out of the game, he also said the same thing. He's like, yeah, I don't think Rizzo's fake idol plays landed as well as Rizzo thought they would. I don't know if that's an indicator moving forward into the final tribal. I don't think Rizzo's going to make final tribal, so I'm not super worried about how it'll affect the votes. But I can see that happening because there's a line where the fake idol play is too much. Rizzo's done it like 3 times already, 3 or 4 times. Everyone knows you have the idol. You don't need to remind everyone. It's very clear. I said this in one of my recaps a few weeks ago. I said Rizzo is showmanshipping his way out of the game. He's certainly showmanshipping his way from being the winner of Survivor 49. I don't think people like his antics so much right now, and I'm starting to get turned off by it. There's a whole episode of Seinfeld about it. You gotta go out on a high note. Stop drawing attention to yourself. We already know all of it. But as I mentioned, Steven is voted out of the game pretty unanimously, including Sage. Sage voted for Steven. And this had huge implications for me as to what the players saw that we don't see on screen. If Sage and Christina were willing to get rid of Steven and not even take a shot at Blue Sophie to weaken Rizzo and Savannah, you know what that tells me? That tells me that Sage is more afraid of Steven winning the game than Rizzo. And I know we sit back and we're like, wow, Rizzo is putting on a good show and it looks like he's dominant and they're all stupid for letting him get to the finals. But realistically, I'm finding out that he doesn't have the winner's equity that I think he does as a viewer. Sage here is saying Steven cannot make it to the end because his relationships are too good with the jury and he may beat me. Sage here is saying, I don't mind if Rizzo makes it to the finals with me, because I think I can do better than him. And I think Sage is right about that. There's been points where I've been anti-Sage, mainly because she's been against Savannah, and I love Savannah. But she's been making the moves that a lot of fans routinely want players to do. She's flipped back and forth over and over again in a way that will get her to the end of the game and in a way where she thinks that she's going to have an advantageous jury vote. Like, it's to the point where now myself as a fan, now that it's down to Christina, Sage, Rizzo, Savannah, and Sophie, if I am looking at the landscape, if I'm Savannah, Sage needs to go next. Absolutely. Sage has to be the 5th one voted out. Christina should go nowhere. You should drag her ass to the final 3 and make sure she sits there while the other 2 fight for the title of Survivor. Rizzo, I guess it could swing one way or another, but the jury's probably about it. Savannah probably has everyone's respect for being able to make it through to the end like this, winning multiple immunities, which is helpful. She's part of that minority alliance that kind of came into the merge and they were in the bottom with Rizzo, Savannah, and Sophie, and it's made it all the way here. And then Blue Sophie, it's a weird thing where sadly, I think if that she had nailed knowledge is power, her final tribal journey would look a lot better. But since that failed, I don't know if she's gonna have enough to pitch to the jury at the end, unfortunately. So if I'm Savannah, I'm getting rid of Sage as soon as I can. If I'm Sage, I'm getting rid of Savannah as soon as I can, because I think they're the top dogs. They both have the best chance to win the game right now. So the finale is gonna be really interesting. I can't wait to see how it shapes up, because I did not expect Sage to be such a wrecking ball in this game. I didn't expect her to get to the end with such winner equity, and she's gonna have it. Like, if she were to win the season, it wouldn't be stunning. I think Savannah's going to win the game. But if Sage were to come in second, not surprising at all. I can't wait to see how this all plays out. It's been really exciting. The pre-merge is kind of whatever. And I admit, knowing who's on season 50 has dictated my thoughts on the season to some degree. Because now it's like, all right, let me look at these players and I'm going to follow their story. And unfortunately, that's what happens when you leak who's going to be on that season 50, is you're like, okay, well, these people are going to probably do well. Let's see how they navigate it all. And that's what's happened. But I'm really excited for this. I'm excited for a season 50 preview. I can't believe we get to see it so soon, in only like 4 days, whatever it is. It's going to be fantastic. Now, let me know down below in the comment section, who are you rooting for to win the game? Who do you think is going to win the game? And what do you think is going to be the boot order for the finale? I think Sage is going to be 5th. I think Rizzo is going to be 4th. I think Christine is going to be 3rd, Blue Sophie 2nd, and Savannah is going to be the sole survivor of Survivor 49. And I think we saw that coming for a long time. I hope that's the case. I don't know. I don't know spoilers. I don't know anything like that. Just reading the tea leaves. I think it's going to be a good finish. But that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have an absolutely amazing day. I'm excited for the finale. And goodbye.